guys, it's me, Sophie Taylor, the Tailor of all trades, and today I have got a very specific product review for you. This is the review for the Engrosser Ruler that you can purchase from Neal Booksellers. It's been designed by Aquino de Silva, and today we're going to be needing the ruler itself. We'll be needing an additional ruler. The directions suggest you have a T ruler, but we're going to just be using a regular one because I don't have a T ruler. We'll also need a pencil, a mechanical for the thin lead, just the lead itself is pretty thin, will also be helpful, and then you can use optionally some painter's tape. You do not have to use the painter's tape. I happen to like it. It steadies the foundational ruler. I'll be showing you how to do that in just a second here. But the Engrosser Ruler, and there's a companion ruler called the Spencerian Ruler. It's just a way for you to be able to create guidelines that you know are standard according to the script style that you're using. So again, Engrosser, very similar to copperplate. Some would argue they're the same thing. That's what this ruler does. So right now what I'm doing is I'm just taping down with painter's tape my base ruler or my guiding ruler, which is going to set the foundation for the Engrosser Ruler as I use it. And I use painter's tape because it's low tack. And what that means is that when I take it off, it's not going to rip the paper that I have put it on. So I'm just taping it down right now so that I can then go ahead and use it as the foundation for using the Engrosser Ruler. So as you can see, it's pretty much a rectangular ruler that's fairly small, and then it has an angle on the end, and you can choose between 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7 millimeter X heights. Again, the X height is the size of the lowercase or minuscule letter in any script style. So when we are creating our example today, I'll be using the 5 millimeter X height. And what you do is you lay that ruler flush against your guide ruler. You stick your pencil nib or your lead into one of the bottom holes of that X height that you have chosen. So again, right here, I'm using the 5 millimeter X height, and I'm just going to label this line. This is the baseline. This is the line that all of our letters are going to be sitting on top of. And then you stick your pencil in the hole right above it, right at the top of the X, and that's going to give us our header line. And again, our header line is the top of the X height, which is the top of the minuscule letters. X height just is a way to signify how tall the lowercase letter X in a script is. That's why it's been called the X height. We're using 5 millimeter. And then today, for this example right now, we're going to be using the dot that is 2 dots above the top of the X height for the ascender, which is going to be at 10 millimeters. And then for the descender, same thing. We're going to go down 2 dots on this ruler, and we're going to get our descender line to also be 10 millimeter. So what we're working with is a ratio at this point of 2, 1, 2. Now at the second half of this video, I'm going to explain all about ratios because I didn't quite understand it myself for quite some time, and now I do, so I want to share it with you. But right now our ratio is 2, 1, 2. So when you set up your guides, what you will be saying is that you are using a 5 millimeter X height with a ratio of 2, 1, 2. In addition to the baseline, header line, ascender, and descender line, there is also this fantastic edge of the ruler that is already set to 55 degrees in terms of the angle. That is the slant angle, 55 degrees, which is standard for engrossers and copperplate. And all you have to do is take your pencil and run it across that edge, and what you have got is the perfect slant angle for you to either be practicing with or creating pieces with. And it's so simple to use. It's insane how easy it is for you to get a solid set of guidelines with this ruler, which is why everybody loves it so much. And again, remember, this particular ruler is set with a slant line of 55 degrees. So I'll just go ahead and notate that here because it's a little bit different for Spencerian and some other types of scripts. But basically what we'll do now is I'll remove my low tack tape and my ruler. This is what you're left with. You've got a clear image of your X height, which is at 5 millimeters, plus the places where your baseline, header line, first ascender, and first descender are, as well as the slant angle. And what I'll do is I'll just go ahead and show you some real-time lettering, I'll go ahead and let you watch this as it happens. You can fast forward through this if you'd like to, but I just thought it would be helpful for you to see in action how you can then go ahead and use these guidelines once you have created them. All right, so that concludes the directions on how to use the ruler. So if you don't need to learn about the ratios and it's not something that you need to be made aware of, or you don't need it explained for you, you can just go ahead and stop right here. But I wanted to go one step further and spend the rest of this video talking about the ratios, just to make sure everybody understands what it means and how they work with this ruler. So just as a definition, ratios are only used to describe the distance between the ascenders and descenders and the two lines that construct the X height, which is the baseline and the header line. So we don't use ratios to discuss the X height itself. Generally speaking, it's really just a way for us to know how much space is between the ascender and descender, how much space we're giving ourselves for all of our strokes that go above the header line and below the baseline. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to explain to you the three most common ratios that are used in Engrosser script, and they are the three that you'll be able to make with this particular ruler. So as of this point, what we're going to do, our very first ratio is going to be 1 to 1 to 1. So again, I'm using the 5mm X height. And what I have done is I have created my baseline and my header line with the X that has been provided. And then I have just gone one notch or one hole above and one hole below. So you've got your descender, your ascender, and your X height are all at 5mm. So they are a ratio of 1 to 1 to 1. They're all the same thing. They all equal 5mm. So that's why we call it a ratio of 1 to 1 to 1. Now, the next ratio that you can create is called the 2 to 1 to 2. That's the one that we used in our last example, where we're still using the 5mm X height, and then we're going 2 holes above and 2 holes below, and we are creating then a 5mm X height with a 10mm ascender and a 10mm descender. And so what we've got is the ratio from the X height to the respective ascender and descender is times 2. So 5 times 2 is 10. And again, 5 times 2 is 10 for the top and the bottom, the ascender and the descender. And we have got a ratio then of 2 to 1 to 2, because 5 times 2 is 10 on the top for the ascender, and 5 times 2 is 10 for the bottom descender. So the ratio then is 2 to 1 to 2. Please excuse my little mess up there. I did make a note of it here so that you can see, but the ratio is 2 to 1 to 2. The last ratio is the one that was sort of hardest for me to understand, but it's called 3 to 3, and I'll explain it. We're still using the 5mm X height, and instead of using the holes that go directly above the X height, we're going to use the one that is slightly to the right. And what that is right in the middle of 5 and 10, which makes it 7.5. So our X height is 5 millimeter, our ascender is 7.5 millimeter, and our descender is 7.5 millimeter, and the ratio itself is 3:3. And the way you figure that out mathematically is by dividing 3 by 2. So when you divide 3 divided by 2, it equals 1.5. So when you multiply 5 millimeters by 1.5, you get 7.5 millimeters. In either direction. So you've got 7.5 millimeter ascender, 7.5 millimeter descender, and that's what makes up the ratio 3:3. I didn't quite understand that one. Took me the longest to figure out, but my husband helped me. He has a great mathematical mind. And so I told him, I need help. Can you please help me? And we sat there for about 15 minutes. I explained to him the foundations of copperplate and how you have to set up guidelines, and he helped me figure out how to explain what it means for the ratio to be 3:3. So let's go ahead and see it in action here. Again, I set up my 5 millimeter X height, and then I'm using my 7.5 millimeter ascender and my 7.5 millimeter descender. Again, I'll go ahead and signify for you which line is which. Again, the bottom is always the descender. The top is always the ascender. We've got 7.5 for the ascender, descender, 5 millimeter for the X height. Okay, so when we're creating these guidelines, we would say I'm using 5 millimeter X height with a 3:3 ratio. And that concludes my little spiel about ratios. I really just wanted you to be able to understand what the instructions were saying when you order your own Engrosser or Spencerian ruler, because it shows the ratios and it shows you how to create them. And if it's good enough for you just to do what is shown, that's fine. But I'm one of those people who has to know the why behind everything if I'm going to remember it. So I wanted to explain the ratios. What I'll do is I'll just go ahead and add in our signifiers for our X height, baseline, header line, descender, and ascender over on the right-hand side. And then again, we are using the 55-degree slant angle on the ruler to create our slant lines for us to be able to use. And from here on out, again, you can skip this part if you'd like to, but what I'll do is I'll just go ahead and use this ratio setup and this guideline setup to go ahead and do some real-time lettering. And you can feel free to watch that just to go ahead and see how it differs slightly from the 2:1:2. Basically, a 3:2:3 just gives you a little bit of a different amount of spacing. And in case you're wondering, you can change up these ratios. It just so happens that symmetry looks really good in writing and in calligraphy. So that's why we, generally speaking, are going to be using symmetrical ascender and descender heights. But these are the most common ones that are used: the 1:1:1, the 2:1:2, and the 3:2:3. So now that you've been explained, now that it's been explained to you what the ratios are and how to construct them, it might make just a little bit more sense as you're using the ruler. So that's all I have got for you today. I am loving this ruler, guys. It is so much fun to work with, and as I've been using it, I just have been feeling more confident in my practice sessions and just as a calligrapher in general. So, again, I got mine from Neal Booksellers, and the last time they were in stock, they sold out really quickly. So if you're interested in getting this ruler or the companion Spencerian ruler or the package of both rulers, I'd say go ahead and get on it before they sell out again. But I just wanted to go ahead and show you a couple of examples of how to actually use the ruler, how to then write and letter calligraphy using the guidelines, and then also just a brief discussion on the ratios so that you can understand them. I hope this product review was helpful. If you liked it, please hit that subscribe button and then go ahead and check me out on Instagram at Taylor of All Trades. I'll talk to you guys later. Bye.